Regis and Kelly, weekday mornings at 9.
Good morning. Saddam Hussein begins his second day in U.S. custody. Welcome to First Business on this Monday morning. I'm Tom Hudson. Here are 3 to know before you go. On this Monday, December 15th, 2003. Saddam's surrender ends a 9-month manhunt and decades of intimidation and rule. Now, the rebuilding effort. The ace of spades folds with Saddam's capture. What could be in the cards for the markets? Plus, Merger Monday with a look at the banking industry, the fight in finance. Also a look at this morning's news brief. On the economic calendar today, all eyes, of course, on the opening bell for the market's initial reaction to the weekend news of Saddam Hussein's capture. In the meantime, a slow beginning this week in terms of economic data. Just one report due out today, the New York Empire State Index. Earnings, we have to wait until after the close today. We'll hear from homebuilder Lennar and software giant Oracle. Let's do the digits now from Friday's market action. In the Monday morning briefing, U.S. interrogators hope that Saddam Hussein's capture will shed some light on the hunt for weapons of mass destruction and other former Iraqi officials still wanted. Now, his capture leaves a baker's dozen, 13 people still on the Iraqi most wanted list. He may become the first person to be tried before a new court, a new Iraqi court that was set up just last week to address war crimes. Meantime, the hunt for Osama bin Laden is more than 27 months old. He is believed to be hiding in the mountains between Pakistan and Afghanistan. Taliban rebels and Al-Qaeda forces have been stepping up their violence against U.S. troops in Afghanistan in recent months. In fact, the United Nations has announced that it may leave the country. A top UN official in Kabul says at least 11 aid workers have been killed in Afghanistan since March. Now, almost 9 months since the beginning of the war, Saddam Hussein is in American hands. His future still undetermined, but the former Secretary of State James Baker this week is traveling throughout Europe, hoping to find some help in addressing Iraq's $120 billion in debt. This as the debate continues over the more than $18.5 billion in reconstruction contracts due to be handed out by the U.S. before early February. I sat down with Wael Hindo as the Saddam Hussein's capture was announced to the world. He served 3 months as a member of the Iraqi Reconstruction and Development Council. Sir, what do you think the capture of Hussein means for the reconstruction effort in Iraq?
Well, number one, it's a happy day for the Iraqi, it's a happy day for the U.S., and it's a happy day to the coalition forces. Now the coalition forces can focus on the rebuilding Iraq, building the army, building the police, building the infrastructure. That will means a lot of business, a lot of work, and economically is good for Iraq, and economically is good for the United States.
You were in Baghdad this past summer.
Yes.
Did Saddam at that point still cast a long shadow?
Yes, he was. He and his sons, actually. And people were frightened or scared that he might come back. But today his capture put an end to that story.
Let me ask you about some of the experiences that you had in Iraq this past summer. Did you feel secure?
When I was there, I felt more secure than if I go now. At that time, number one is I know the language. Number two, I grew up there, and I knew the area.
Do you think Iraq is more secure now that Saddam is behind bars?
Definitely, definitely.
And talk to us about the reconstruction effort. What are the priorities?
The priorities is the infrastructure, the schools they want to build, the companies, the ministries, all of them are destructed. So construction is number one, renovation and construction. Anybody in that business is making good money today in Iraq.
Well, certainly in a lot of those businesses that are in Iraq making some of that good money are U.S. businesses. How important is it that Iraqi companies get involved in the reconstruction effort of their own roads and sewer systems and electric systems?
Actually, the Americans are subcontracting the business to the Iraqi companies. And therefore, the Iraqi people are getting a lot of these contracts, and they are doing business.
How about the environment for foreign investment in Iraq? Obviously, it is known as an oil-based economy. What kinds of things would you like to see over the next several years that open the door for foreign investors to come into Iraq?
Security, and the people of Iraq govern themselves. with the help of the United States. So this is very important.
And how important is it that this becomes an international effort now?
Well, I'm not against international effort, but actually, since America did the whole work, really, and our kids are the one who suffer, they are the casualties. I think America has the right, the first right for these contracts. But also, we need other countries, and the problem we need them is because of the previous commitment by Iraq to these countries. And if James Baker is successful, and he can make these countries forgive the debts of Iraq, I think that's a great step toward the right thing. But then, if you're going to tell them, forgive Iraq the debts, they're going to tell us, well, give us part of the business too. And I think it's a compromise, and I think we're going to reach that point.
Our final moments, what's next for Iraq?
Within 6 months, I think they're going to have their first elected among themselves government. And then after that, they will have referendum of what kind of government they want. I think that's what I think.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wael Hindo served 3 months as a member of the Iraqi Reconstruction and Development Council. In the Market Rewind on this Monday morning, some of the digits and data that helped shape the trade back on Friday before Saddam was captured. A surprise drop in wholesale inflation last month, with the producer price index dropping by 0.3%. The October trade deficit ballooned to over $41 billion, and the preliminary University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment report for December was disappointing. In the corporate front, a federal audit discovered some problems with Halliburton, that it may have overcharged the Army $61 million for gasoline. United Technologies stood behind its latest financial guidance. Koch expects its operating cash to remain strong next year, and we learned about a new federal investigation into Boeing's former chief financial officer. Still to come on this Monday morning, Jonathan Honig along with us. The Capitol's pick could be a big market reaction at the opening bell today, Jonathan.
Hudson, obviously no one saw it coming. It's going to affect markets worldwide, stock, bond, commodity. We'll cover it coming up.
All across the board. We'll talk about it coming up after these messages.
First Business is brought to you by ConocoPhillips, who reminds you that the great ones elevate their performance. ConocoPhillips. Elevate.
The great ones elevate their performance. On the biggest stages, with the highest stakes, they're able to summon something extra, and by sheer will, produce wonders. As a global energy leader, expect big things from ConocoPhillips. And watch our performance elevate.
We carry thousands of clocks. So you'd think I'd have plenty of time. But I could still use more, especially when it comes to paying bills.
Now there's an American Express card that lets small businesses pay over time. The Platinum Business Credit Card. Call 1-800-NOW-OPEN to apply.
A big seller. The hands are bowling pins.
With the American Express Platinum Business Credit Card, you can carry a balance, which makes managing your cash flow a lot easier.
Did Jerry pay us yet? No. Wonderful.
Apply now. There's no annual fee and no interest for the first 9 months.
Can you believe this? A clock that barks.
You'll also get benefits no one else can match. The savings, services, and tools of the Open Network.
When bills come in, it's nice to know the clock isn't ticking.
No annual fee, no interest, and now more time to pay from American Express. Get your Platinum Business Credit Card today. Call 1-800-NOW-OPEN.
It's great getting more time without having to wind something up.
Your Health on News 46, brought to you by the Community Hospital of the Monterey Peninsula.
How about some 4-4, yo?
Shirts and skins. Here, try these on. They're nice and soft, kind of like your game.
Oh, what happened?
Ladies, small for you?
You talking to me? Oh, let's do it.
Apple's hardcore, yo. Give me that rock.
Check, huh? Oh.
Durable, colorful tees, tanks, and sweats from Fruit of the Loom.
Get that!
Fruit basket!
Fellas, we're playing a half-court game.
Welcome back to the Monday morning edition of First Business. You know, it has been almost 9 months since the shock and awe bombing of Baghdad began. It's also been about 500 points ago for the NASDAQ and more than 1,700 points ago for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Well, the ace of spades has been captured. What's in the cards for stocks and other markets? It's first up at the capitalist pigment. We saw a big reaction overnight with the futures exchanges, Jonathan.
Yeah, Hudson, I mean, sometimes, listen, we got to talk short-term and long-term here. In short-term, it looks like all the safe havens, gold, foreign currency.
Bonds even.
Bonds, exactly, that have become quite popular. Well, probably, at least in the short term, we're going to see those trends reverse.
And I think that's the key here is the short-term rally effect. I mean, if you take a look at any of the websites or business pages today, everybody's predicting a big rally, especially in equities, because of this uncertainty removed from the market.
Listen, anything can happen. We saw that this weekend when Saddam got captured, and we'll see it in the markets. I mean, we could easily see, this is just taking the other side of the coin here, we can easily see the market open up strong, top out, and dribble down throughout the rest of the day. We've seen that before.
Absolutely. I mean, just take a look at the performance of equities year to date. Forget about Saddam. You've got the Dow and the S&P working on 20% bull runs here. The NASDAQ is close to 40% higher, almost 75% off the lows back in March.
The real story, Hudson, though, here will be the long term. I mean, we always talk about the fact that the market's influenced in the short term, but the long-term trends tend to persist. So whether this will ultimately, the news will ultimately change the higher interest rate, higher commodity prices, weaker dollar, and stronger stock story that's been working lately, that's only known the weeks ahead.
All right, listen, the focus here for the United States in Iraq remains on security. It also remains on rebuilding, fixing up that country. Within the next couple of months, by early February, Jonathan, the United States is planning on handing out more than 24 contracts worth more than $18.5 billion, but is allowing only coalition companies from those countries to bid on the contracts. Fair or not?
Listen, Hudson, if you watch any of the Democratic presidential debates, you think that everything went to Halliburton. I don't know how many times I've heard the phrase Halliburton sweetheart deal. But listen, I watch the markets, Hudson. You watch the politics. And the truth is, Germany, France, Italy, Europe, these countries, a lot of them which Rummy called old Europe, are actually doing quite well.
Well, certainly in terms of the equities. But is the U.S. playing fair here by only allowing the coalition of the willing to become the coalition of the billing?
I feel, Hudson, listen, I trust our government. I trust our boys and men and women over there. I think they're doing the right thing, and I think the countries that helped us out in times of need should be the first ones to benefit from.
Wow, you're restraining capitalism, though, aren't you?
I tell you what I'm looking at on the stock side, Hudson. As I said, I watch the market. Royal Dutch Petroleum, Total, TOT, not so much ExxonMobil, but E, which is I believe, an Italian
energy company.
Exactly, top on my list right now.
You definitely moved aside the issue, though, that we were talking about. All right, let's talk about the weekend risk here. And we've mentioned this before, the problem with holding positions over the weekend. And certainly we're not advocating short-term buying or selling or anything like that. But the fact is, Saturdays and Sundays, the markets are closed. Things happen in the world, both good and bad.
And Hudson, the truth is, you can't get out. You know, Monday morning comes in. I mean, listen, I've owned gold for quite some time, and, you know, boom, boom, all of a sudden we see gold down hard on good news about Saddam.
$5, $10 to the downside.
This is the risk of investing, whether it's overnight risk, weekend risk, or overnight risk. I mean, you know, you and I lived through 9/11 together, and the truth is that Tuesday morning, you didn't have a chance to get out from Monday evening.
The next week, absolutely. And it really goes to highlight the difference between timing the market and time in the market. You know, you take a look at those overall trends that we were mentioning in the first subject, and if you're a believer in those, why necessarily close those positions every Friday?
I'm a believer in our men and women in armed service. Bravo to them.
Well put, bravo. Well put, Jonathan. That's the bellboys for today. Now, we normally do answer viewer emails on Mondays. We'll answer those comments and questions throughout the week. And, of course, you can always drop us a line. Drop it right into our inbox. It's bellboys@firstbusiness.us. The Monday morning Road Warrior report now with this note from Qualcomm. It's best known for the CDMA technology within the cellular phone industry. Next year, it likely will face some competition from Texas Instruments and ST Microelectronics. Now, worldwide, about 1 in 5 cell phones uses CDMA chip technology. The chips created in tandem by Texas Instruments and ST Microelectronics will go after the markets in North America, Latin America, and Korea. Mobile phone sales, meantime, in the third quarter jumped 22% from a year ago. Research firm Gartner predicts 500 million cell phones will be sold worldwide this year. Nokia remains the biggest seller by far, with Motorola bringing in the number 2 slot, a distant second, followed by Samsung, Siemens, and LG cracking the top 5. All right, still to come on this Monday morning edition of First Business, John Najarian will be along from the Chicago Board Options Exchange with the Monday morning trade of the day, and the fight for finance, the buyout activity in the banking industry after these messages.
The Road Warrior is brought to you by Sprint, introducing PCS Vision. Clearly, a whole new way to look at wireless.
Wireless, where are we?
Comparing high-speed data networks, Sprint's 30% bigger than AT&T Wireless.
But AT&T Wireless, they've been around.
If Sprint has better coverage, isn't it obvious?
Right. Let's look at Sprint. You are...
The plant guy.
Central Plant?
No, Ficus Plant.
Didn't mean to jump in, but
they'll thank you for it.
30% more coverage than with AT&T Wireless. Get the facts at Sprint.com. One Sprint, many solutions.
I don't think this on-demand thing is for us. Why not? It's for the big guys.
We're big.
What's big?
What's big?
Biggest people in 6 countries, biggest suppliers in 12 states, biggest an office in Guam.
That is big.
Yeah, we have big guy issues. Integration, outsourcing, on-demand issues.
So you're saying this on-demand thing
is for us. Even though we're not that big.
Yet.
Act like a big guy, pay like a little guy.
What?
Give a gift from God's shop. Give the fragrance of the holidays with Yankee Candle. December's fragrance of the month is Home for the Holidays. This is sure to brighten anyone's home, and right now they're 25% off.
Or these comfort products from Homedics. There's massagers, foot baths, fountains, facial revitalizers, and right now they're on sale.
It's the gift that keeps on giving. Give a gift from God's shop. Give a gift from God's shop.
Your home is a reflection of you. Imagine having the warm colors and textures of the hills of Tuscany, or deep, lush, tropical decor that sweeps you away to exotic places, or the comfort and relaxing feel of traditional elegance. It's about creating an ambiance. We can help you design a distinctive look with home furnishings to enhance the look and feel of your home. Ambiance.
If you carry this card, you...
Happy holidays from Wise Music.
Wise Music has gifts of music for all budgets. Complete starter guitar package is only $250. Drum sets from $395. New and used guitars, basses, drums, sound systems, and more. Wise Music, the store with a name.
News Talk 1460 KION. Machete in the Morning with Doug Machete. Rush Limbaugh weekdays at 9. Dr. Laura at noon. And now Local Talk afternoons with Karen Grant. Plus news, traffic, and weather updates. News Talk 1460 KION.
Welcome back on this Monday morning of First Business. Of course, you can always visit us online. It is firstbusiness.us and drop us an email there. You know, even though the number of mergers in the banking industry has been declining over the past few years, there's been a number of deals announced, big and small, throughout this year, from Pacific Capital buying Pacific Crest for just over $100 million to Bank of America's $47 billion buyout of Fleet Boston. Jim Moss is a banking analyst at Fitch Ratings, and he stopped by the studios recently to talk about M&A activity within the banking industry. What's been driving the consolidation of the banking industry this year?
This year, I think it's all the old teams were still in place that drove mergers in the past. The one change that has taken place has been the economy has settled down, and the banks now have more confidence in their own quality, their own loan portfolios, and the quality of the loan portfolios of others that they might be looking at to buy.
How about the credit quality of the banking industry overall? Certainly that's the focus for you over at Fitch.
It is our focus. We have been surprised at how well the bank portfolios have held up over the last 4 or 5 quarters, given the economic environment and the challenges they've been faced with. I think it's been the diversity that they've taken on in the loan portfolios that have really allowed them to carry through a challenging economic environment with better statistics than one would expect.
And by diversity of loan portfolio, does it get down to consumer versus commercial loans?
Well, diversity on that front, but then getting inside each of those portfolios, particularly on the commercial side, not taking large outsized exposures to individual names.
Talk to us about the impact of low interest rates for the banking industry and the outlook for interest rates. We just heard last week that the Federal Open Market Committee, still is expecting to keep its federal funds rate low for, quote, considerable period.
It's a double-edged sword. The low interest rates and